Um, what does really humbling my soul mean? In the book of Psalms 35, the first one that we looked at, verse 13, it says, but as for me, when they were sick, he says, my clothing, he says, was sackcloth. He says, I humbled my soul with fasting. He says, and my prayer returned into mine own bosom. One of these primary things when you think about fasting then is that he says that we are really humbling ourselves through the act of fasting. We are humbling ourselves through the act of fasting so that we can get God's attention. So from these various passages here, we will see that there are some we have different types of fasting that are mentioned in these passages that we looked at. Right? And I just want to cover them here, hopefully before we close today. We have 5 more minutes. The first one we see here is fasting from evening to evening. And that was mentioned in on the last verse, Leviticus 23, verse number 27 to verse number 32, right? The first type of fasting is from evening to evening. And the reason that you hear even to evening is because in the Hebrew world, the Hebrew day began in the evening and it concluded in the evening. So that type of fast means that they would literally only eat in the beginning and the conclusion of the day. And remember, their day began in the evening and ended in the evening. So nothing would be consumed between that time, right? And that's why we have the fasting from evening to evening, right? So in the Hebrew world, their fast, their day began in the evening and ended in the evening. Of course, and our world today is not the same, right? Our day begins in the from 12 o'clock, 1 second after 12. Really, our day begins, and we end at midnight, right? That's how our day begins. So normally, when we fast, we would normally fast like from 6 o'clock in the morning to 6 in the evening, because really that's evening to evening for us, right? But the Hebrew people, it was different. Their evening really, or their day really began in the evening and ended the next evening, right? So that's why you will see in that text in Leviticus chapter 23 mentions from evening to evening, right? But for our times it's different because our day begins at a different time than theirs, right? The only other one I'll do today, because our time will be gone, is the other one called a complete or absolute or total fast. Right? The second type of fast mentioned is a complete, absolute, or total fast. What I mean by that is that you eat nothing and drink nothing. Right? So during the fast, you eat nothing and drink nothing. Right? And that's why I say complete or absolute or total fast. Now, I have here, and there are some examples here, 2 examples in particular. We saw in the book of Exodus chapter 34, verse 27 and verse number 28. We saw here where Moses went to receive the tabernacle, and he would have fasted 40 days and 40 nights, eating nothing or drinking nothing at all, right? And some would say that this is a miraculous fast, and we'll probably look into it a little bit more next week because our time will run out for today. Well, why I say miraculous is because when you do your research, the scientists say that the human body can go no more than, let's say, probably about 10 days eating or drinking nothing at all. We can't go beyond that, right? Because what happens is that toxins build up in the body, and those toxins will kill you, right? So to eat nothing and drink nothing completely for more than, and I'll show you some slides next week about that. But normally they will say you won't last more than 10 to 12 days. You will die because those toxins will heap up in the body, and those toxins will kill you, right? So that's why it is said that in Exodus 34, 27 and 28, that this has to be a miraculous fast, because the Bible mentioned that he didn't eat anything at all or didn't drink anything at all. And he was able to go come back from the mountain, and after receiving those instructions from God, and was able to go on like normal, right? As I said, the human body is not designed to go without food and water for longer than 7 days or so. Medically, toxic wise, the toxin in the body will kill you without food. But drinking water alone, you can survive a couple of months, well on record. I saw something about 90-something days that that's at least at how long the person had done it, right? No food, just water alone. But without water or without food, only a few days, because that will lead for surely certain death, right? And that's why I say that this fast here that was mentioned in Exodus 34 really has to be a miraculous kind of fast. And in the two examples we looked at as well in the book of Jonah 3, 5 to 7, we saw here that the people of Nineveh, it says the people of Nineveh believed God. I go back to that text in Jonah chapter number 3. But it's particular about this one here, right? The people of Nineveh believed God and proclaimed a fast and put on sackcloth from the greatest of them even unto the least of them. For word came unto the king of Nineveh, and he arose from his throne, and he laid his robe from him and covered him with sackcloth and sat in ashes. He says, and it caused it to be proclaimed and published through Nineveh by the decree of the king and his nobles, saying, let neither man nor beast, herd nor flock taste anything. Let them not feed nor drink water. So no eating, no drinking, absolutely. And not only man, but he said beasts, flock, everything. So everybody was subject to that fast. And that is unique. That everybody had animals and all, they faced the fast as well. Nothing, and that fast went on for 3 days, right? So no eating, no drinking, and they were able to do that fast for 3 days. As I said, when you look at the biblical examples, you will see that those who did that complete or absolute fast only did it in the scriptures for 3 days. As I said, scientists will approve from their research saying that really the human body can't do without eating or drinking completely. You wouldn't last more than 7 to 10 days because the toxins will indeed kill you in the body, right? The last example I want to look at before we end, the book of 1 Kings, chapter number 19 and verse number 8. 1 Kings, chapter number 19 and verse number 8. Right? That's another example as well of the second one, which is the absolute or total fasting. In 1 Kings, chapter number 19 and in verse number 8. Right? The Bible says here, 1 Kings, chapter 19, verse number 8, it says, and he arose and did.
Do you have it on the screen?
No, I don't have that one. And I don't have that.
You're reading it.
Yeah, reading that one. And he arose and did eat and drink and went in the strength of that meat 40 days and 40 nights unto Horeb, the mount of God. Right? And that was Elijah. Right? And that's in 1 Kings chapter 19 and verse number 8. Right? So he arose and did eat and drink, and then it says, went in the strength of that meat 40 days and 40 nights unto Horeb, the mount of God. Right? You can also look at the book of Esther, chapter number 4 as well, 1 to 3, and verse number 16. I'll read that one. That one is on the screen. It says that when Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes, went into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and a bitter cry, and came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province, whatsoever the king's commandment and his decree came about among the Jews, and fasting and weeping and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. And verse 16 says, Go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, neither eat nor drink, 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. Right? So this is the second type of fast, a complete or absolute fast. No eating, no drinking at all. And as I said before, according to research, the human body can't, you see here mentioned in this Esther that they did it for 3 days. Jonah as well, they did it for 3 days as well in Nineveh, right? Because as I said, from research, they said that the human body can't survive more longer than between 7 to 10 days without eating or drinking, absolutely. The toxins in the body will indeed kill you, right? So those mentioned in the Bible so far, we saw 3 days for absolute fasting. I didn't see anything beyond that. And the 40 days that was mentioned, as I said, for Moses, seemed to be miraculous fast because it mentioned that he didn't eat or drink at all, and he was in the presence of God. Right? So we'll take it there. Any questions on what we would have looked at there so far tonight?
Nope, I just want to make a comment before the questions
Sure.
and then come.
Sure.
And here's where you need to take it to